to Service Drive Revolution. We are super excited today. The number one podcast show for service drives, here to help you increase your customer experience or better your customer experience and your profitability, have more fun, and we hope to give you some tools in the journey along the way in you trying to get better. Today I have our trusty sidekick, Mario. How are you doing, Mario?
I'm doing great. I really like the way that you said fun.
Fun?
Yeah, it's always fun.
Today we're going to talk about an article that I saw on LinkedIn about how teams are going to great lengths to acquire better coaches for their NBA teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting conversation. And it also resonates because you're a big NBA fan, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're such an NBA fan that you named your son after an NBA player?
I did.
Or did you name him after a shoe?
No, it was the player.
Are you sure it wasn't the shoe?
It was the player. Definitely the player. But no, it's the GOAT. For those of you guys that know who the GOAT is, that is
Kobe?
the great Michael Jordan.
I was trying really quick to think, who could I slip in there? It wouldn't be Kobe, right?
I mean, I won't take anything away from Kobe. I mean, he was a
Who's better,
dominant.
Kobe or LeBron?
Man, that's hard. That's one in the air. I'm going to say Kobe for what he's done, but I think I can't say, man. I like both of them, and I know some people would kill me for saying, I like LeBron, but you can't deny talent. That guy is he's an animal.
LeBron's never had the team or the coaching that Kobe or Jordan had, right?
True. I mean,
they both had the triangle. LeBron's had the, hey, everybody clear out to the right and give LeBron the ball.
Yeah. You know what? To go with an answer on that, I'm going to have to probably say Kobe, because he had that assassin type of, I want to finish the game, just like Michael Jordan did. And if you remember a couple years back where LeBron was always passing it, he didn't want to take the last shot. And I think that takes a lot away from a legacy, right? If you weren't the one, give me the ball, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to do it my way. LeBron was more willing to pass the ball to someone off.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of games where the strategy of the other team was just double team LeBron.
Sure. I mean,
he wasn't surrounded by talent. Kobe had a lot of talent around him.
The Shaq hack days, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't stop him, so let's double, triple team him.
Well, before Phil Jackson took over the Bulls, too, like Jordan, when they would play Detroit in the playoffs, they would just double team him and kill him.
It was a different league. It was a different league.
They just beat him up. Yeah, it's funny. So you're pretty fast. You're a big basketball guy. Do you think if you and I played one-on-one, who do you think would win?
I'm going to say me, if you give me an opportunity. And I don't want to talk about the past. But I think
how many times in the past have I beat you in basketball, do you think?
I'm having loss of memory. I just can't recall anything past a year. So, I can't remember, Chris.
My memory is really, really good, and I think it was 11 games, something like that, 12 games.
I think some of those games we could have broke it into 2 games once you found out the rule that I didn't share with you.
Oh, what is that rule called? The
skunk rule.
Skunk rule?
Yeah, basically when you're beating me by like 8-9 points, I have 0.
Yeah, what were we playing to?
I think we were playing to 15. After a few games, we went down to 11.
If it's 8-0, then it's the skunk rule.
Right.
Yeah, because we were going to. Yeah, I remember a couple times it'd be 12-0. You'd be like, "That's the last time you're gonna score." You talk so much trash. You definitely won at talking trash. You never give up on talking trash.
No
matter how the score is against you, whatever, you never stop talking trash.
Can't quit,
you
right?
believe in yourself.
I kept trying to get in your head, and little did I know I was messing with Yoda here.
Gotta get up earlier in the morning than that to get in my head.
And it was the East Coast.
So this is a LinkedIn article called How the NBA's Top Teams Recruit Top Coaches and What You Can Learn from Them. So in a close-fought series, the difference between winning and losing may hinge on if they get the right players on the floor at the right time with the right plan. So the right players at the right time with the right plan. So while it's mission critical for NBA teams to find and field the best players in the world, club owners and executives will also go to great lengths to land the best coaching talent anywhere, employing many of the same tactics that recruiters use. Like many of you, they put a premium on finding leaders with skills such as adaptability, collaborative problem solving, and especially effective communication. As a result, many NBA teams have embraced an approach of hiring for skills over experience and promoting from within. So the thing that I think that's interesting about that when we talk about fixed stops is most of the service managers come from the shop. And in the shop, when you're a tech, you're not so much a team player as your flat rate, and your job is to turn hours, and you work with advisors or a dispatcher, whatever the system is. But at the end of the day, your results are more dependent on your ability to turn hours. It's not so dependent on everybody else. Right. I mean, to a varying degree, of course, the car line, the dispatcher, all that do have a say in it. But at the end of the day, it's, how effectively can you manage yourself? Mm-hmm. And then when you move up to shop foreman, and then you move up to manager, the game changes, right? It's like, how well can you get other people to perform? And I think that's where a lot of managers struggle, is in these things that effective communication. They're not great communicators a lot of time. Collaborative problem solving. So what does collaborative problem solving mean to you when you hear that?
I'm thinking, you're going to get your team together, and together we're going to come up with an agenda, a plan, or a process to put in place.
Yeah, and so you're not just a manager sitting in an office saying, do this, do that, right? You're asking everybody, you're saying like, hey, our goal is to win a championship, and whatever that might be for you and your dealership. How do we define a championship? That's right. A part of you got to figure that out. You got to figure it out, right? Do we want to be number one in CSI? Do we want to be this percentage net to gross profitability? What is winning a championship?
Right. When you said that, it just reminded me back in the days when I ran track, right? Because it goes similar to a technician, right? It's a team sport, but you have individual contests within. And every time we had a meet, my track coach, Donald Burns, shout out to Coach Donald Burns out there, he would sit us down and say, okay, what place do you think you can bring in? And then he'll calculate the points and see where we're going to be at. He'd look at the other schools and average what they would score, and then say, okay, you can't come in third, you need to come in second. And that's the way he would game plan with us, to know you have to be in these positions in order for us as a team to win. And individually, we're just thinking about ourselves, right? And if we go out and perform and do what we need to do, then we know ultimately the whole team wins the meet.
Yeah, that's good. And so I think a lot of managers struggle with that. Right? Yeah. By the way, we were talking about this kind of before the show. Is your son Jordan? How old is Jordan?
13.
Going
on 17.
Still can't beat you in a foot race.
No, sir.
You're still faster than him in a foot race.
Yes, sir. Hey, let's be clear. I am 120 pounds heavier than him too.
Yeah, but you're one of the fastest people I've ever seen. Like I've seen you race when we've been in dealerships. I've seen you beat guys in dress shoes that were in tennis shoes.
Oh yeah, John Barbados
challenge you to a race. So you got the speed thing down. I don't think I've ever raced you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because I
talked about it, but we haven't.
But I know I could beat you in basketball, but I don't think I can beat you in a foot race.
Well, you gotta have one.
Of it. I'll just give it to you. You beat me. There you go. And then I don't run the chance of pulling something or whatever. But what happens to you? I'm asking, and this is a serious question. What happens to you the day that he can beat you? So I think two things here. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. One is as a father, if he can't ever beat you, you're gonna blame it on his mom that it's genetics that he's not as fast as you, right? And then if he does beat you, it's a weird...
It's a double-edged sword.
It's a weird
for sure.
thing, right? Because you want him to on one hand, but on the other hand, you still want to be dad and you want to be better.
Right. Well, see, I have the mindset of I want him to be better, taller, stronger, faster, smarter. Like that's what I'm pushing him to. So I want him to beat me, but it is going to be a eye-tearing type of moment, and like I said, double-edged sword. I'm proud that he did it. I'm pissed off at myself that I lost though, because I'm so competitive, right? And so I think that's why I train him to get faster, but at the same time, I'm out there running with him. I'm not just having him train and run. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do these too, because I said, hey, if I'm not getting myself in shape, this guy's going to pass me up sooner than later, right? So I'm not going to let it become an easy victory for him, but when it does, he's going to earn every bit of that.
Is there ever a point where you just stop racing him and you don't ever let him win?
No, if he beats me, I'm going to come back and win back. I'm gonna challenge him until I win again, or I pull something, whichever one comes first.
Oh man. It's fascinating because it's like, that's a part of who you are is you're so competitive and fast and you talk so much trash. Do you talk trash to him like you do to me?
Oh yeah, sometimes I have to watch it because I get so comfortable and I start treating him like a friend, right? And we'll play, FIFA or Madden, and we play 2K, and I get a competitive spirit even in a video game, and I start kind of saying some vulgar stuff, and he's pretty good. These kids come up with these electronics and technology.
He's playing more than you.
Yeah, and so sometimes he has beat me, and yeah, he gets in my head, and I get frustrated, and I'll just walk away. I'm like, oh, this kid. But he's me, right?
Yeah.
Learning the art of getting in people's head.
Man, he looks like such a teenager too.
Yeah.
Mario's been bringing him to work this week, and so he's been around, and he looks like a teenager. Okay, so back to this. Like many of you, they put a premium on finding leaders with skills such as, and here's the one that I think most managers struggle with, adaptability.
Yeah.
How many service managers out there don't want to change? Even though everything around them's changing, the industry's changing, their results are getting worse, they're doing the same thing they've always done, and it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't want to adapt. They want to be right. They want to argue forever about how their way,
right,
even though the results aren't there, their way is the way. And their way was handed down from the manager they worked for before. It's not like their way came from Harvard Business School or,
what they know, right?
The 1985 Bulls. Their way is just, what they're comfortable with because it's what they've always done,
right?
Not the system that will get the best outcome. But they're stuck in it, right?
That's the thing that blows my mind, Chris, is just like you said, that's what their previous manager did. And that's what the previous person did. That person's no longer there. Wake up, open your eyes. They're not there anymore for a reason. They didn't just die and choke, right? Hopefully not. But more than likely, they got fired or let go for some reason.
Moved on or whatever.
Moved on. But don't follow the same process if it didn't work.
Results are tied to you, not to them.
Yeah.
You're getting a paycheck every month to achieve a result.
Mm-hmm.
How adaptable are you? Are you focused on the results, or are you stubborn and stuck in your ways and you don't want change, right?
Here's something interesting that just popped in my head, Chris. I believe that a lot of managers don't feel they need to do much changing because at the end of every month, they still have a paycheck, regardless if their dealer made money or not. They still get a paycheck, so they feel I'm making money. The dealer must be making money, but they don't know that they're not. And then changes need to be done yesterday.
Yeah. What happens, the reason why I called that book The Irreplaceable Service Manager is the biggest fear for service managers is getting fired without a warning, because it happens all the time because they're not getting results. The dealer's looking at the financial and boom, they just get tired of it and they let them go, or the dealership gets bought or, whatever happens. But there's a lot of turnover at that position, right?
Yeah.
And so adaptability ends up being, and that's the first one on this list is adaptability. So then collaborative problem solving, and then effective communication. And I think effective communication comes in many different forms, right? It's not just talking to somebody. It's how you set up your systems. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you hold people accountable, right? Effective communication is if that person doesn't have to follow the rules, why do I? Yeah. Like you don't have a system there. There aren't consequences for things. You also don't have a hierarchy of performance. You're not effectively making it clear that results here matter, right? You're treating the top performer as the same as the bottom performer.
Yeah.
And that's communication. Everything you do is communication when you're the boss, because people are watching, whether you like it or not. They're watching how you dress, they're watching how you talk, how you show up, if you're on time, your body language, who you're in the office with the door closed with, what you do all day, all of it, how you handle customers. Do you follow up? All of that.
Yeah, and I think it's important where you said it's a system, right? Because if you have a system, you follow the system, no matter who is in your office or who's underperforming or overperforming. But when we don't have a system, we go off of our emotions, or how I feel towards this person, or, we go out to drink, so I can't really be tough on them. But like you said, everybody's watching. And the way you take care of someone, they're expecting you're going to be lenient with them too. And sometimes you just can't, right? And that's going to just create a bad culture within your department.
So we have the experience of being in, I don't know how many dealerships I've been in my career, but now we have hundreds of dealerships that we work with. And the thing that we see in the service drive is when you go in and you have a weak leader as a manager, they have a hard time finding talent.
Yeah.
But as soon as we teach that manager leadership and they start understanding how to be a leader, how to communicate, then we start attracting the right people.
Yep.
And then those people attract the same, right? Because winners attract winners.
Yep.
And so I don't know how many times has it happened that nobody wants to work at a dealership in a market, and a year later they have hitters row. They have all the top advisors and techs from around town because word gets out and people want to come to a place where they're having fun, where they're being led, where they're being challenged, and you're attracting the talent that wants to be challenged. You're not trying to motivate people that don't want to be motivated.
Yeah, you get a bunch of applications at your leisure. Like when you're ready for them, you just call them up and you bring them on board. But you already have the infrastructure up, so they know as soon as you come in, it's a performance environment. So,
but how many managers spend their career trying to motivate people that don't care? You're trying to motivate an employee that doesn't care,
right?
And you spend all your time on these losers that really could care less. And in the end, they're going to go out with drama and as much noise and wake behind them as they can. And you've invested all this time in your emotions and you care about their performance and their livelihood more than they do.
Right.
That's a weird thing to be in. I mean, imagine when you were single or whatever, and you're dating a girl that you really, really like, but she doesn't like you. And you're buying her things and you're investing her. At the end of the day, she's in love with somebody else and she doesn't care about you.
Right.
It's the same thing with trying to motivate techs and advisors that just don't care. What you need to do is create an environment of performance and start going after the people that perform at a high level and create an environment where they can thrive.
Right.
Create an environment of performance. Because people that want to perform at a high level want to be coached. They want to be challenged. They want change. They want to constantly get better.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've built a team of people that don't want to change, don't want to get better, and basically just, want to survive and get through the day.
Right.
Instead of getting better every day.
Now, how do you feel about before we let someone go? Say you've been coaching them, right? What I find out in managers coaching is they coach them the way they would like to be coached, and they don't really understand how that advisor or that person should be coached, right? So how do you perceive that? Should you spend the right time coaching them in the right way, or just kind of, they ain't working, I coached you, and kind of let them out there?
Well, let's clarify that a little bit, because I think that's a good question, but it's kind of a complicated one, right? Is like, so say for example, Jordan, when he turns 18 or 19, comes to me and he wants to be a porter, right? I'm a service manager. He wants to be a porter. Now, the way that I was coached by, so let's say, what am I? Am I Generation X? X. So then the boss I worked for when I was a porter was a baby boomer, right?
Yep.
So how would a baby boomer have coached Generation X? Because they would all say, at the time it was like, oh my God, when these Generation X is in charge, this place is going to go to hell in a handbasket, right? And then you had the older generation, which was my grandpa. So what was the approach of the baby boomers compared to Generation Y? Like, what's the difference? So the baby boomers were more, what they cared more about was staying in one place for a long time, career, ethics, like working hard, that sort of thing, right? And then my generation came in, and we were the first generation where divorce was pretty rampant. So they called us Generation X. We were actually the first generation that they tracked, that they gave a name to, because our parents wouldn't stay together for the kids, where the baby boomers would stay together for the kids. So divorce was higher, broken. Like I remember looking around, and not too many of my friends, mom and dad, were the original mom and dad, right? It was
Yeah.
Brady Bunch or mom was single. I was raised by a single mom most from 13 on. I had a stepdad.
Right.
And then, but I mean, think about that. I've had in my life like my mom's been married 3 times to 3 different men, right?
Yeah.
And so historically, the baby boomers, it was mom and dad were together forever, right? So the home life is different, which changes your work ethic, your approach to life, your expectations, all that. Now you talk about these younger kids. So what happens? What is the difference between the way I was raised and the way you're raising Jordan? And let me just tell you, you're raising Jordan that he gets everything you didn't have.
I did at one point, yeah.
And so there's an entitlement with this younger generation, right? And there's no judgment here. We're just talking about the psychology of how you manage people. So like it or not, the younger kids are raised by parents that were like, hey, I didn't have all these things. Like, I was raised by a single mom. We were poor, so I'm going to raise my kids to have a car when they turn 16, even though they don't want cars when they turn 16. But they're going to have the best coach for football, so I'm going to give them a private coach. All the things that I didn't have, right, they're going to have. So that's how the younger kids are raised. And so now you're sitting there across the desk from this kid who's been raised by parents who wanted them to have everything. They're entitled, or I perceive them as entitled. They don't perceive themselves that way.
Right.
But I manage them from my point of view about them, not from their point of view about themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is you got what 5 or 6 generations in a shop.
Yep.
You've got the younger kids that see themselves, see the world, see politics, see everything completely different than somebody my age. So you got a 50-year-old service manager managing a 25-year-old advisor.
Right.
What's important is for that 50-year-old manager to say, well, hold on a second. Let me learn these kids. Let's not just man, I hated it when these old people would sit in an office in front of me, like I wasn't in the room, and talk about Generation X.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I'm right here. By the way, at that time, I think I'm smarter than you. So you putting me down isolates me. It doesn't bring me in. Yep. You're not making me want to perform. You're making me want to leave.
Right.
And so that's what happens. And as leaders, we have to learn from them. There's things that they're better at than we're not. We need to have a conversation and be open about the fact that, hey, this is how I see things, but how do you see them? Right. What do you like? It fascinates me how these younger kids see things. Like, it blows me away. Like, my assistant, right? She's a beehive, like a Beyonce, and this doesn't apply to service at all, but it applies to the conversation of the psychology of that generation. And so I saw that Beyonce special she did on Netflix where it was filmed at Coachella.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a great piece of art. Like, I'm not a big fan of Beyonce, and to me there's a lot of it just feels very anti-men in a lot of ways. Like, she's been wronged by men, and men are holding her down and all that, and which, I don't know.
She's just selling songs.
I'm not trying to be political about it, but it's an amazing piece of art, that documentary, how she created it and how she performed it at Coachella and all the work and all that, right? So I know she's a beehive. She's a fan of Beyonce, and I just want to understand, right? A lot of times I get myself into trouble into these conversations because I'll talk politics with anybody, but people are really committed to their side, right? So if somebody says they're a Trump supporter, or somebody says I hate Trump, they're both just as fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I have to explain to people is when I come into this conversation, you could change my mind. But can I change your mind? Because if you're so locked into hating Trump that you're not paying attention to the facts and the truth, and it's just your thing, like your religion that you're holding on to, and you're not listening to reason, I can't talk to you. But you could change my mind. I'll talk politics. It fascinates me if you hate Trump as much as if you love him. I just want to understand your thinking and your psychology. But most of the time, very quickly in the conversation, you realize that people really don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Right. I'm a fan of the facts. Right. And so we're talking about that documentary, and it's just insane to me how she thinks about things, because it like, not only is it in a way genius and deep, it's very deep, but I would have never come to that conclusion in my life. So the first time somebody told me she's really into Beyonce, and I asked her, just passing, I said, oh, I saw that Beyonce documentary. It was really cool. And she goes, like, I was like, oh, I thought you were Beyonce. And I kind of like, I was like, oh, and then like a week later, we're alone, and she says, the Beyonce thing, I've watched it 3 times and I'm just really torn about it. And I said, well, I thought you were a big Beyonce fan. She goes, oh, I am. I love Beyonce, but I don't know. Like, I really have a hard time. And she goes through this whole thing, bro, about Jay-Z cheating on her and how she handled it, and Jay-Z, and how she really respects Kevin Hart, because Kevin Hart cheated on his chick. And then the next tour he did, and the special that he has up on Netflix, like right away, like
luckily apologized and all that.
The whole thing is a throwaway to his apology, I guess, to his wife. Now, I haven't seen it. But it's not a highly rated Netflix special, right. That one. The last one he did was amazing, and I saw that one. But he goes right at it right away. Doesn't take 3 or 4 years, right? So Jay-Z's album is called 444 because it was 4 years, 4 months, and 4 days from the time he cheated or something. Is that true?
Yep.
How could you wait 4 years and leave your fans out of this? In the relationship that these fans have with Beyonce, and how can you say you're a strong woman and not hold him accountable for what he did, and wait so long to address it, and then address it in an album that doesn't feel genuine? And it's an amazing album, she said. It's an amazing album, but she felt, and I'm just fascinated, like, by one, how social media and how people feel so close to these celebrities that...
How dare you not tell me?
And like, okay, now think about this on the flip side of that. You're Beyonce.
Oh, thank you.
And your husband cheats on you. And you have all these beehives watching to see what you do. And you're humiliated and broken and going through all the feelings of being cheated on and lied to. And like, when you've been cheated on, you go through this stage of like thinking nothing is real. You can't trust anybody. Like, it's a hard thing. It's devastating.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, people are judging how you handled it. How could you possibly handle it right? How could you possibly handle it right? How could you possibly please everybody? Like, she can create a hit song and please everybody. Right? She can make a movie, she can make clothes, whatever she does, she can please everybody. But in the most vulnerable time where there isn't a book on how to handle this, there isn't a magic pill you can take to make that pain go away.
Right.
People feel like you let them down because you weren't addressing it and letting them in the right way, that you didn't kick them out, or everybody's got an opinion.
Absolutely.
And social media is set up where people have their opinion matters, their comments, their follows, their likes, right? It's all like social media is built on opinion.
Right.
It's nuts to me. Like, it's fascinating. It's fascinating the depth that they have, but how they see things completely different than I would see it, right? I would see it as, oh my God, I don't know how I would handle that if I was her and him, right?
Right.
Where they're like, no, you waited too long to address it. And Kevin Hart addressed it right away, and that's the right way to do it. And I feel let down. And like, it. And
how selfish to me.
But think about that for a moment. Like, a lot of people in our industry would be like, oh, that Beyonce, who cares? Like,
right.
No, I'm fascinated. Like, it doesn't matter whether I like Beyonce or not. What I'm fascinated by is how they look at it.
Right.
How they process it. How it moves them emotionally, because then I not only understand them more, I learn. I learn more than I'm teaching in those scenarios, right? I'm just asking a lot of questions. I don't want to be right. I don't know. Like I don't even know that I understand the Beyonce thing the way that other people do. Do you understand it?
I mean, listen, my opinion would be simply as there's no book, like we said, right? But ultimately, in a vulnerable state like that, you don't want everybody's 2 cents. You don't want no one swaying your opinion of how you're going to handle this. And maybe that's why she took four years. Who knows?
But my answer to that, whenever that happens to somebody, is time heals everything.
Yeah.
How you feel right now isn't how you'll feel a year from now.
Right.
But time heals everything. Where they're like, no, right now you got to tell us. Like, you got what's going on.
Yeah. But maybe she didn't feel right at that time. Maybe she put Jay-Z in the doghouse and we don't know about it, right? Because we're not in every part of their life. So we don't know what she did or what he did or win her back. I'm sure he had to do something, right? And ultimately, they made a commitment to themselves. So I think she did the right thing. She said, you cheated. You're going to pay the price and you're going to pay it this way and we're going to stay together, where most people would just go, oh, you cheated. One of those. I'm gone.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way. I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm not judging her. I wouldn't judge her the way, so I don't want to say the name, but the way she did, she just looked at it differently,
Well, I think a lot of the fans, and there's more to the story, but to my point there is the younger generation see things differently. And so unless you're a leader that's going to sit down and say, well, now, understand that, here's the numbers. And this is the other mistake that managers make, is they don't start with the numbers.
Right.
Like whenever we show an advisor how the numbers break down, what our effective labor is, what profit we make, that sort of thing, because they perceive that we're making money hand over fist and everything's okay because the door's open every day and the lights are on, right? So when you explain the numbers and then you say, now, this and this and this, I believe are what require us to be successful, but tell me what you think. And then listen. Don't be a Trump hater or a Trump lover and want to push your opinion on them without listening first.
Right.
And you have to be willing as a leader to change your mind because sometimes those kids are smarter than us. Sometimes they have a point that we didn't see.
Right.
And don't have such an ego that you're not listening with the intention to get better.
Right.
That's collaborative listening, right? Yep. Listening with the intention to get better. Like, how many times have you talked to somebody about Trump and they he's done nothing good or he's done nothing wrong.
Right.
And the truth is he's done a lot of things good and a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
And ends up he's a human. And ends up we voted him in, right?
Yeah. You know what I was thinking is the quote that I talked to you about last week, it resonates with this, right? Is like we're judging an advisor on their performance. When you ask a question, it opens up the mind on both parties, both the advisor and the manager. When you say a statement, it closes it.
Right.
Right. So I thought that resonated with what we're
question opens the mind, a statement closes it. Yeah.
So when you're judging, you're stating a statement, you're closing their mind. They're not going to give you their insight. They're just going to go, okay.
And so to that point, oh, well, you're Generation X.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, you're a millennial.
Right.
Oh, yeah. What is Jordan? What do they call them? Ys or whatever?
I think it's YZs, I think
YZ? You got to look it up. You're Googling what
I don't know.
But to that point, right, is instead of asking questions and pulling the employee in, the 25-year-old employee, and saying, hey, this is our challenge. What do you think? How do you think we can achieve this goal? How can we be better at this? It's just, you're wrong, I'm right, do it my way, take it or leave it. And they don't respond to that. They want to be collaborative, Generation Z.
Yeah.
That's like the end, bro. That's the last generation.
No more,
Z.
right?
What are we going to do now?
We're going to put numbers in there.
We go back to A? Do we start over or are we done? Does the world end?
Unless we're on an Excel sheet, right?
Well, then it's like Z1, Z2 or whatever?
No, I think it'd be AB, AC, AD or something like that, right?
Oh, really?
That's how the Excel sheet goes.
So, yeah, I think that's the important thing as a leader to understand is you need to get to know your people. And the younger kids you can't manage the younger kids like you managed me.
Right.
And I can't manage them like I was managed. I got to manage them from the perspective that they come from. And I think that was your point is understand them and then lead. Don't try to be right.
Right.
And so you got to ask the questions. You got to present the scenario and the desired outcome, and then you got to listen to what they have to say.
Right.
But there's a lot of talent. We're not endearing them and pulling them in, and they don't think like we do. And that's not bad. It's not bad.
No.
It's a good thing. It wasn't, my generation didn't ruin the world like everybody said it was, and theirs isn't either, right? I'm going to be 50.
Right.
And we're still doing pretty good. We got a good economy going right now. The country, like it or not, people are buying, money's moving around.
Oh yeah, it is.
This isn't 2008, right? So let's understand them. Let's be leaders that collects talent, but we understand them. We ask them to be involved in the solution.
Yeah. You'll surprise yourself. They'll come up with some great ideas.
They want to be coached every day. They don't want to be coached once a year.
Right.
They don't want to be reviewed once a year. They want to talk about it every day.
Almost hour by hour, right?
And they want their opinion. They're used to an environment where they can comment, where they can like.
Right.
So they want to be able to like.
That's a true statement. Is growing up, I always told Jordan, ask questions. You don't know, raise your hand, ask questions. And now sometimes I'm like, dude, just be quiet. I'm just telling him, stop asking questions, because I trained him that way. Sometimes I'm trying to, reprimand him for something, and he's just asking questions where I'm getting upset because I'm trying to reprimand him. Don't talk back to me. But then I remember, wait, he's doing everything. I trained him. I told him. So I've noticed that, and I listen. And then I go, well, this is where you're misguided or you're not understanding it. So I take that approach. I slowed down because I was doing the same thing.
Have you seen that video on YouTube, the Listen Linda?
Listen, Linda? No.
Oh, yeah. Well, look it up. Everybody listening to this, look it up. Listen, Linda. It's this little Latin kid. And he's like to his mom. He's like, listen, Linda. And he's in trouble. Him and his brother are in trouble for something. And the mom's going to spank him or whatever. And he's like, listen, Linda. And he keeps calling her Linda. But that's the perfect example. Like, he's like asking questions like,
right.
Oh, this isn't fair. And no, and you got to see it this way. And no, I'm misunderstood. And the whole thing. Cute little kid. It's
just trying to prolong his butt beating, right?
No, he really wants to argue about it. Like, it's funny.
Lawyer in the making, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Lawyer in the making. Yeah, I think, too, to that conversation is what we've been talking about internally is how does our advisor training become interactive with these younger advisors? How do we, on our training platform, create an environment where they can comment, where we create content that trains on the things that they want training on? How do we create content that touches them once a week? Right. Not just a module that they go through and then they're done.
Right.
How do we create content that maybe touches them every day, right? But when we touch them, how do we involve them in the conversation? How do we make them feel like it's not just another training platform, but it's a place to get better? Because they want to go somewhere where they can get better and improve. They don't want a talking head telling them, hey, just do this. Right. There isn't just one. They don't believe that there's one way to do something. They don't believe that it's the only way, right? They believe it's a journey. 4 or 5 different
ways and then come up with their own out of those, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times they're more spiritual and more connected with themselves than my generation was a little closed off and a little stubborn.
Right.
They're more open to feelings and things like that. And so, yeah, that's our challenge, and what we've been working on here too is how do we make our training more interactive, more touching them more, but getting their opinion and creating training that they want, not what we think they want or not the way we think they should do it, but throwing out the desired outcome and then starting a conversation.
Right.
With them being able to like and follow and vote with their opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'd deliver good content there.
Yeah, and that's going to be the shift in our company. That's where we have to head. Well, this was a fun conversation.
It was.
It's kind of deep, right?
Yeah, good stuff though, as always.
So just recapping that as a leader, your challenge is how good of a collaborator, how good are you at building a team and creating results, right? Because the desired leaders, and I'll read this again, is adaptability, collaborative problem solving, and effective communication. And then those things lead to the talent wanting to come and be around you, and not like to your point is not managing them, like you were managed, managing them, how you're going to get the best results out of them,
Right.
how you're going to be the most effective.
Learn your people.
It's good. Well, thanks everybody. And we will see you next time on Service Drive Revolution.
Signing out.